crafting with heat transfer materials has come a long way since the days of muddling through with a household clothes iron, and leading the charge is a company called HTV Ront, who not only produce a stunning array of heat transfer vinyl materials for you to craft with, but also make some affordable heat presses, giving you reliable, replicable, easy results every time. The HTVRONT Auto Heat Press is the newest model, featuring a large 15-inch square ironing pad with fine-tuned heat settings, timer and automatic operation. It does the pressing for you, which means you don't need to worry about how much pressure to apply. Just position your design, push in the tray and press go. Now, if you've been looking to get into heat transfer vinyls, maybe you've looked at a Cricut auto heat press and then balked at the price. Is this the ideal beginner starting point? I'm James Roos, you're watching MUO Reviews, and I do hope you'll join me as I delve into the fascinating world of heat transfer crafting with HTV Ront. So, quick disclaimer, this is an entirely new product category for me, so I'm not going to be able to speak to usage of this from an expert point of view. Instead, I'm coming at this as a complete beginner. This is literally the first time I've ever worked with heat transfer crafting, so please forgive me if I get something wrong. We all start somewhere, but I do hope that if you're also a complete beginner, then my approach here, my perspective on this, will perhaps set your mind at ease as to how simple it all is to get started with and operate the thing. So let's talk about the design. Coming in pastel blue or plain white, the HTVRONT Auto Heat Press is a pretty bulky and heavy machine. It has some indented carry handles on the side, but in order to accommodate that large 15-inch square working area here, the actual machine measures 20 inches deep, 16 inches wide and 12 inches tall at the highest point. And it weighs about 38 pounds or 18 kilograms. The one saving grace is that unlike some machines which sort of fold open so they need a lot more vertical height, the HTVRONT Auto Press features a slide-out ironing board, so you don't need to allow any extra headroom there to lift up the press. The simple LCD screen, which displays temperature and time, is also front-facing along with the buttons, so again, you won't need to peer over the device to make it work. If you have some large shelving like this, you can easily slot it into your existing workflow, and it actually won't take up that much space. So, how do you use the HTVRONT Auto Heat Press? I'm not going to talk about the cutting side of things because that's not the job of this machine. This is just the heating and pressing things. But for reference, so far I've been using the X-Tool M1, which I reviewed last week, link in the description or up there, which is a dual function laser engraver and blade cutting machine. So do go check out the review if you'd like to know how I got to this point. And I'm going to assume that you have your design already. You've weeded the unwanted vinyl off. The plastic bit then goes face down, and having printed it back to front, so you should see your design through the plastic clear backing sheet. And this is now the point at which you start to heat and press things. So it's a remarkably simple device from a technical point of view. Simply power it on and it'll automatically begin heating up to the specified temperature. Now you can either use one of the 4 presets with this first button. You can hold down the temperature button if you want to change it over to Celsius, or you can just press the second button to manually set the temperature and time to whatever your particular material requires. Once it's heated up, the button will turn green. You can place your design onto the ironing board, and absolutely don't forget to use a Teflon sheet on top. Slide the drawer back in and then press that green button. If it's not all the way pushed back in, it won't do anything. You do need to push the tray right back in, it'll click into place. And then the machine will automatically descend the ironing plate. It will press onto your design. You may see the top extend upwards slightly as it pushes down, then it will ascend again once the specified time has elapsed. Obviously, you can interrupt that at any point if you need to emergency stop it, but at this point, it's pretty much a hands-off process for safety. The tray of the HTVRONT Auto Heat Press can accommodate material up to 1 inch thick. So if you're doing dye sublimation onto wood blocks, for instance, that's a good size to work with. And again, it auto adjusts the pressure for you. It detects how tall your object is. so you're not going to get far too much pressure on that as it tries to push down like it was a piece of fabric. So how do you know what temperature to use? That's going to come from the documentation with your material. For instance, HTV Ront recommends around 15 seconds at 315 Fahrenheit for their own HTV sheets. You can either set that manually, or you can use one of the 4 presets that come with the machine, which supposedly corresponds to their own materials. So I used the number 2 setting for most of that. But I also experimented with the manual settings. I mean, there's no difference there. But anyway, setting your own temperature if you need to is super easy. Just hold down the temperature or time button, then adjust up or down as needed. Done. So once you've pressed, then what? Pull the drawer out, and again, depending on your material, you're either going to do what's called a hot or a cold pull. These HTV Ront heat transfer sheets all appear to be cold pull, so that means waiting a couple of minutes for everything to cool down and for the vinyl to stick to your material. Then you just peel off the backing sheet carefully. If it does start to pull up the vinyl with it when you pull the backing sheet off, you just need to press it for a little bit longer. So put it back in and do another run. It's only another 10-20 seconds after all. But I have yet to experience that issue with this press, so I don't know how common that is with other presses or when you're doing it manually. In terms of quality of output, I've been really impressed with how easy it is to achieve these results from so little effort on my part. I was expecting a much steeper learning curve, but so far, maybe it's just because of the evenly distributed heating and the even pressure that you get on the material. I mean, that's got to be one of the major benefits of this machine. Everything has just come out really well. HTV Ront also does a smaller handheld machine that you need to press yourself, but it seems like that would be easy to mess up by not getting even enough coverage or perhaps pressing too much in the wrong place. But with this machine, you're going to get replicable, great results every time. And if you need to batch your output, you can even turn on a completely automated mode with the last button. So as soon as you push the tray back in, it will click into place and press down automatically. It's a small time saver compared to pressing the button perhaps, but of course that all adds up when you're working in batches. Maybe you forget to press the button. So any time saved there is appreciated. So what makes this different from the likes of the Cricut Auto Press? Believe it or not, the HTV Ront Auto Press is actually a full 15 pounds lighter and even reaches a higher temperature, 210 Celsius compared to 205 Celsius of the Cricut model. While the Cricut takes 8 minutes to reach that top temperature, this only takes 6. The Cricut Auto Press doesn't feature an auto mode for batch production. Basically, I can't see any reason why someone would pay more for a well-known Cricut band when this is safer, lighter, more efficient, and more automated. Maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like this blows that branded choice out of the water. Oh, and the price. It's roughly $800 for the Cricut Auto Press. This is under $300. So you've seen some examples of it being used in the review. Like I say, I'm still experimenting with this. It's all very new to me, but honestly, it's been so easy to use. Are there any downsides to this device? I will say that when it's heating up, given the extreme temperatures, I can hear a sort of cracking as the case expands. Now, I'm not sure if that's an issue with my early prototype. I can't see any damage. It's still working perfectly, and I also can't say if that's normal for this type of machine, just basically given the high temperatures that we're talking about. But just as a beginner, that sort of loud cracking sound did freak me out a little bit. Also, the Teflon sheet that I was supplied with can get stuck through static, I guess, to the iron plate. So you pull the tray out and you don't get the sheet back. You need some sort of tool to fish it out without burning your fingers. It's not a big deal, it doesn't always happen, but it's a bit dodgy when it does. And again, I don't know if that's typical of these types of machines, but there you go. You can either wait for it to cool down just enough to be safe, or you can just grab it from the sides. Again, not a huge issue, but something that slightly bugged me as a beginner. One easy way to solve that would be to buy a bigger Teflon sheet than the one I was provided in the sample pack, which is sort of A4 or legal size, I think. Anyway, if you are just as much of a beginner with HTV crafting as I am, then I can thoroughly recommend the HTV Ront Auto Heat Press. It's so simple to use and it gets great results at a pretty affordable price. If you're a seasoned heat transfer crafter, then I hope I've shown you enough about this machine for you to know if it's right for you. If not though, please do let me know in the comments what else I should be looking out for when I'm looking at this type of machine. Thank you for watching, and thanks to HTV Ront for sending this over to have a play with, and I hope you'll consider subscribing for more reviews, gadget giveaways and more from all of us at makeuseof.com.